Alex is what I like to call one of the Bernie-crats. He is definitely running on similar lines to Bernie Sanders. Alex, you're in Nevada. Obviously, Nevada was in the news weeks ago for the chaos instilled by Bernie supporters, which was really just a bunch of loud booing. Tell me about what are the main issues in Nevada, and what is a progressive candidate like you proposing?
Well, one of the big issues is our jobs, and well-paying jobs. And I think that that's one of the most important issues, not only in this district, but across the country. And that involves raising the minimum wage. And as we've been able to talk to voters over the last 8 months, we hear from Republicans and independents, along with the Democrats, that we need a $15 minimum wage. People need to put food on the table. People need to be able to pay their bills. People need to be able to put gas in the car. I mean, that is one of the most important issues out here. And we've been making sure that that's one of the issues that we've been focusing on. And, again, it's part of jobs. And it's not just any old job. It's a well-paying job that we need to start bringing into this district and, again, creating in this country.
Right. Traveling around the country the last few months, I see that Bernie obviously proposed $15 minimum wage. Hillary Clinton, $12 minimum wage. Obviously, the 15 is a big step, a better step in the right direction. But I think there's also a gap in Congress because there's just a lot of jobs that have disappeared, and there's really, other than significantly changing our trade policy. There's a lot of jobs, whether you push it to $15, $12, doesn't matter, that without significant change and without significant change in who runs Congress, there's going to be a shortfall for jobs. As a congressperson, how do you kind of respark manufacturing, respark all these jobs that have disappeared, leaving people that I've met living in mobile homes, working 3 jobs, that kind of thing?
Right. I mean, I believe the way to do that is having another industrial revolution in terms of, green energy jobs. Those are going to be well-paying jobs. They already are. And we need to start bringing them into this state for sure. I mean, our state, there was a study then that we could supply 100% of our energy with solar and wind, and we could do that within 20 years. But we haven't started that process because here we have a Republican legislature, a Republican governor, and we haven't had the will in the United States Congress to make sure that we actually start funding startups, programs in the states. That's a big deal, and that's a way that we can bring back these manufacturing jobs to manufacture solar panels and wind turbines and all these great technologies that we're just not funding to our fullest capacity because a lot of Congress members have their campaigns funded by big oil and big energy, and it really stymies our ability to bring in great paying jobs that would not be allowed to be outsourced. And that is how we get this country moving again to not only great jobs, but also to a greener economy and to a safer and cleaner planet.
Right. And obviously, underneath the Bernie Sanders campaign versus someone like Hillary Clinton is the corrupting influence of money in politics. Essentially, NAFTA, TPP, all these trade deals were written by corporate America.
Sure.
So they have an interest in fair trade, free and fair trade. Right. So going into Congress, aside from trade, if you were elected, I mean, it's an uphill climb because even now that Hillary Clinton's the presumptive nominee, they say you see the conversation about money in politics pretty much off TV.
Right, no longer important.
Right, media doesn't want to talk about it. Now it's just anti-Trump. Hillary Clinton's clearly not talking about it. If it's pretty much smoke and mirrors, and once the who brought it to the forefront is no longer in the race, is status quo going to remain, or is there something you and like-minded candidates, potentially congressmen, could do?
Yeah, I really do believe that it's an issue that we can once again bring up, because I believe that we've seen Republican voters, independent voters, and Democratic voters be against TPP. and all of these supposed fair trade deals, free trade deals, and they want fair trade deals. And I believe that if we did that, and that's an issue, if we continue to fight and push for campaign finance reform, the people are behind us. It's really right now, it's just the folks in Congress who are there and who were put there by big money, and these campaigns that are $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million campaigns. Those come from fancy fundraising events. We need to get those folks out of there. Mm-hmm. And the way to do that is to elect grassroots candidates. And I am one of those candidates. We're funded by the people. We're funded through small donations. And, there was one day throughout this campaign where we had 40 plus donations from 40 individuals for $48. And we were really proud of that. The amount of money may not have been large, but people were saying to us, go and fight for us.
Right.
Be our voice. And I believe that's how you change it. And you change it by voters making sure that they understand where a politician and a candidate stands on an issue. And when it comes to campaign finance reform, see how their campaigns are funded. Right. One of my opponents in this campaign is self-funded, but likes to claim that he's for abolishing Citizens United. And while that may be true, self-funding is almost as bad as being funded by big donors, because you're not beholden to the people. And I believe that this is an issue that we can bring up in Congress if I'm elected. And even if we're not elected, I'll tell you, this is an issue that we're going to fight for to make sure that other like-minded candidates can run in the future and don't have to hold swanky fundraisers or anything like that, or call up people and make sure that they're given $2,700 donations. That needs to change. And that's the only way that we can change politics in this country and actually move forward in a progressive manner.
And not as a politician, just a citizen. I assume you seem fairly young, 20s, maybe early 30s?
29, yes.
Cool. So are you discouraged? Because I can tell you, as a journalist, I'm openly lean towards Bernie. I'm not one of these people who pretends to be neutral when they're clearly not.
Right.
Viewers know where I stand. They know I'm not going to fudge facts either. But I found myself discouraged because you look and you're at rally after rally, event after event, where you feel a movement brewing that's just enough is enough with the buying of our government, yet that buying of your government still yields the Hillary Clintons of the world. What's the disconnect right now? Because obviously math is math. She got more votes. The system is a little screwed up too. There's a lot of voter suppression, in some cases fraud. But when is the masses going to wake up, including older people who voted for her in droves, to the fact that this isn't some minor issue we need to deal with, but this is the issue?
I believe that that's already happening. I really do. I mean, from the state convention, it wasn't just the Bernie folks that were upset about the process. I mean, we had a lot of Hillary folks who came over and said, this isn't right. The way that this convention is being held, the way that the entire primaries have been held is not right. And it wasn't I really believe that it went beyond just Bernie versus Hillary. I really believe it went against the idea that, power holders and power brokers in Washington and across the country can decide, well, this is who we want, and this is how we're going to get it, and we're going to get it by any means necessary. And I think a lot of people were fed up with that. And one of the stories my mom supported Hillary. She voted for Hillary, and obviously I'm for Bernie. My father was for Bernie, but even she was at the convention and she said, this just isn't right. And they're in their 60s. They've seen a lot of this stuff. And while I wouldn't say a lot of folks are discouraged, I think it has been a little bit of a gut punch to say, where do we go from here? We voted, we fought hard, we've pushed and we've pushed. Now what? And I believe that you just keep going. And I think that if anything, that's kind of what Bernie Sanders has taught us throughout this. I mean, he's been fighting these fights for 40 plus years, longer than a lot of us have been alive. You have to just keep going, and you have to keep pushing, and you have to keep fighting, because there will be daylight, and we will break through. And unfortunately, it won't happen at the pace that we need it to. But I think that can happen, again, once we get money out of politics, once we put officials in Washington that actually represent the people and are running on issues that people care about and are actually funded by the people. I really believe we could really start moving forward. And I think it just is going to... it's going to get to a point where we just have to keep fighting. We're going to have to keep going. And as hard as it's going to be, we're going to get knocked down, we're going to get pushed back, and we're going to be told we can't do it. We just have to stand up and say, you know what, we're going to do it. And I don't really care what you tell us. We're going to fight for this. And I believe that's how we move forward.
And you personally have had some things you've had to fight through. I understand you have a disability. I also understand it's been used against you during the campaign, which is crazy to me. Can you explain kind of your disability, and also if any opponents have used it kind of in an exploitive way?
Sure. I do have a disability. About 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And, it's a close ugly cousin of Crohn's disease. And, I was 24, 25 when this happened. And, you don't expect it at any point in your life. You don't expect it when you think you're healthy, when you think that, I can take on the world. I don't
want to interrupt you, but a lot of people wouldn't know what that is. So could you explain what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a severe case of irritable bowel syndrome, and a lot of trips to the restroom. It's something I'm not ashamed of, and it's a lot of trips to the restroom, a lot of fatigue, a lot of arthritis is a side effect at times. It's one of those things, again, you never expect it, and it's been a blessing in a way, when I had it, because it really kind of makes you analyze life, and it makes you understand how important things really are. And especially when I had to go on disability, I had to go on Social Security disability. The disease just became a little bit too much to handle. It, working a job just wasn't going to be possible at that moment, and going on it has been a lifesaver. And I always say that I wouldn't be here today, and I certainly wouldn't be running for office if it wasn't for the tremendous programs of Social Security disability and Medicaid and Medicare that have allowed me to get medication that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to afford. My current shot right now is $1,200 a month.
Jeez.
And without Medicare, I wouldn't be able to afford that. And it's been a lifesaver. And unfortunately, one of my opponents, who again claims to be very progressive, claims to be on the Bernie side, brought it up when I brought up the fact that he hasn't been consistent on the issues. He hasn't been, maintaining consistency. And I think that that's important to voters. And he said, well, I've heard from voters that, how can you possibly be running if you're on disability? How can you be going around town spreading rumors about me, which I don't know what that means. And, suggesting that somehow because I have a disability, because I'm on disability, that somehow I can't hold office or I can't run for office, as if somehow I should just be laid up in bed and confined to my home. That was really unfortunate, because I didn't hear that from voters. Even voters that said, I'm not going to vote for you, but your story is tremendous. And, we support you in that. And, maybe my opponent doesn't understand hidden illnesses, hidden disabilities, where I may look okay. I may be able to get through a 2.5-hour debate, as he like to bring up that how could I do that? Well, not all disabilities can affect you the same way every day.
Right.
And getting through a 2.5-hour debate, it took a lot of preparation, and it took a lot of energy and strength. He doesn't see what I, can't eat before the event, have to limit drinks and things like that. And that was really unfortunate, because again, voters didn't bring that up to me, and we've had plenty of opportunities and
just so our audience knows, who's the opponent you're referring to?
Jesse Spey.
Jesse Spey.
And he calls himself a Bernie Sanders Democrat. Well, self-funded, going after someone's disability. Right. Doesn't really add up in a lot of people's eyes.
He might want to look at history, because FDR was in a wheelchair. And
FDR, we have Tammy Duckworth running in Illinois. We had Max Cleland in Georgia. I mean, to say basically, you're saying those folks can't serve because how could they possibly if they have a disability? So,
right. And if you look at some of the Republicans in Congress right now, they might not be diagnosed with a mental disability, but there's a lot of them that are a little off their rockers. So
that's right.
That's pretty gross stuff using that. Alex Springer, your primary is tomorrow in Nevada. So viewers, if you like what you see, sounds good to me. You could vote for him tomorrow in Nevada. Where could people find out more info on you?
Well, you can follow us on Twitter. We're Alex C. Singer 16. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Alex Singer for Congress, and then singerforcongress.com. you can follow us there. And we look forward to primary day tomorrow. Whether we win or lose, we're going to keep fighting. This doesn't end tomorrow, and these issues are too important to say they hinge on an election result, or they hinge on if I get elected or he gets elected. We need to keep fighting, and I'm going to keep fighting, and I hope everyone that watches this joins me in that fight, and I know that you all will, but we got to keep fighting, and as hard as it may be, the struggle is definitely real, and we need to keep going in this, and we need to just shatter those walls that stand in front of us and keep going. So cool. Again, please support us here in Nevada, and vote Singer, and again, follow us on our social media, and I hope you'll join us in this.
Cool. Thanks for taking the time, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.